Hello and welcome everyone. This is Type V3 and let's get ready to burst Link with Max Factory's Figma Silver Crow, the dual avatar by which Haruyuki Arita employs when battling inside the Excel world. Silver Crow is one sleek and streamlined figure. The silver paint is clean and I like how the slate skin-tight sections have a softer, almost powdery finish. However, the real eye-catcher is the helmet. A glorious clear green plastic overlaid on a metallic face make for a mesmerizing effect. Really, this feature alone almost makes it worth the price of entry. The sculpt is pretty great too. A lot of surface detail can be found in the giant blocks of color. I like this look as it never makes Silver Crow look any more complicated than he needs to be. On the other hand, I do question the proportions of this Figma. I don't want to say it's wrong, but Silver Crow definitely looks like he could use a sandwich. The problem stems from the fact that in the anime, he's sometimes portrayed this thin, while at other times is given a wider torso. So basically from certain angles, the figure can look dead on screen accurate, or just slightly off. Still, I like the overall silhouette and I don't have much in terms of complaints for the aesthetics. Looking at articulation, there's a Figma joint at the top of the neck, so that's a good left-right. Up and down is pretty good. And I think there's one at the base of the neck, but his collar is just stiff plastic, so you can't really activate it. The one thing I will say is that because this is a faceless figure, I really prefer it if, I guess, it had a nice tilt. This figure doesn't really have a nice tilt, and it's hard to express any emotion when he doesn't have a face. The shoulders are interesting. They're on a ball joint on the inside and a Figma joint on the outside, so there's a good amount of range in every direction. What's strange is the shoulder pads. If you notice, they're not really on a joint at all. What they are on is just this little elastic band that kind of wraps around everything. So, on one hand, wherever you move the arm, the pad will follow it. But over time, I'm afraid for its fragility and just if it's its overall elasticity, I guess. Just be careful with that. There's a nice torso joint there. Although on mine, for some reason, when I moved it like this, I did end up scratching the paint, so be careful with that. This is the first time this has ever happened to me with a Figma figure, and I would say to watch out for that if you end up getting this one. Good elbow joint, nice wrist joint. Hips are pretty good, although there is no thigh swivel. What's neat, though, is that this is soft plastic right here, this bit here, so when you move his legs out, they kind of just follow the contours of his body and fill out the rest of the silhouette. It's actually a really, really neat effect. It's simple and subtle, and I really like that. There's a good knee joint. Unfortunately, it is a little large and odd looking. The ankles are pretty weak. They're just a standard Figma joint with a swivel, so up, down, and swivel, but honestly, you can't tilt them, and I think that's very detrimental to this figure. It's a figure that really would benefit from a lot of wide-legged stances. Overall, there are a lot of interesting things going on with the articulation of this figure, but I feel like a lot of it has been sacrificed for the fact, or just due to the aesthetic look of Silver Crow. And I don't know how I feel about that. It definitely looks good, but you know what, for such a simple design, I was expecting a lot more in terms of articulation. I mean, to be honest, it's standard fare for Figma, but usually they can do a lot better with these robotic designs. On Silver Crow's hand rack, you'll find calm open palms, fully splayed fingers, and holding things hands that fit any 3mm accessory. Of course, he doesn't come with any weapons. However, you can replace Silver Crow's entire forearm for one that has his gauntlet in attack mode. It even comes with a piercing hand and white blast effect parts, although I do think slightly blue effect parts would have been cool too. The final accessory Silver Crow comes with are, of course, his wings. To attach them, all you need to do is remove the backplate and peg them in. While they definitely give the figure much more presence, in actuality, they're rather dull. Sure, their silver finish is nice and matches up with the base figure, but after seeing the glass-like mirror effect that the SH Figuart Silver Crow employed, I can't help but be disappointed in these. Also, the wing's articulation is limited to a single Figma joint, which is entirely serviceable, but an extra hinge would have been nice. Ultimately, Max Factory's Figma Silver Crow is an action figure that finds itself being a lot more interesting than it is good. I won't deny that this is the best looking representation of the character in opposable figure form, but a lot of sacrifices were made in the articulation to get there. The accessories are great for what they are, but I do feel like they could have used a little bit more. The white effect parts are nice, but boring, and sadly, the large wings just don't give enough of the astonishing wow factor that this figure deserves. If you're a casual Figma collector, then I'd say Silver Crow is an easy pass, unless of course you're just attracted to the aesthetics. For Excel World fans, I'd still recommend him, but just don't go in expecting a great action figure out of the box. Objectively, Silver Crow comes with enough extras to justify the $30 price tag, but unfortunately, at the end of the day, he's just not that fun of a toy. Anyways, this has been Type V3. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this small look into the Excel world. We're not done yet though, because as cool as Silver Crow is, let's not forget who gave him the brain burst ability. Princess Snow Black.